to start?
Yeah.
Okay. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. We just welcome you again tonight. This is the beginning of commentary, basically. We want to introduce not things that we are personally dealing with, but things that are of value to the Ummah. Tonight, we want to bring the news right into the living room, right into your living room. And that's what we plan to do. We have one of our ulai, who is better in speech than one who calls men to Allah with righteousness and says, I am of those who bow in Islam. Nor can goodness and evil be equal. Repel evil with what is better. Then will be between whom and thee will hatred become, as it were, thy friend and enemy. And no one will be granted such goodness except those who exercise patience and self-restraint. None but persons of the greatest good fortune. These people are going to be lucky, like Haz in Arabic means good fortune. It actually means good luck. Now, you know the Quran is not going to be talking too much about good luck. You're going to be lucky. But prosperous, getting the right share of things, the right portion, that's more Quranic. But in this case, the second meaning of this Haz is good luck. And the next is good fortune. So, in this case, why is this so important? And why are we using words like the grand mission? That's because it's not that we didn't bit off more than we can chew, but we didn't bit off a little something here. I'm going to try to explain it as we go along. First is the issue of divide, conquer, and rule. All systems, especially the British, have always used that divide, conquer, and rule. In Africa, if they took over a country, they would put the minority tribe in charge, educate them. That's why there was so many minority tribes in Africa and other parts of the world became Christian during the colonial period. They said, hey, we'll become Christian, and they made them the little leaders. Yeah, the minority tribe. Why the minority tribe and not the majority tribe? The majority tribe, if you give the king or the chief too much power, he gonna go against you, right? Because you took power basically from him and them. So the last one you want to see in power, you want to see the oppressed, the downtrodden, the one that's been picked on. So what does that mean? Historically, if the Japanese and the Germans would have took over America, guess who they could only turn to? I say we might have got a better deal from the Japanese and the Black Dragon Society. Remember that old stuff? The lamb and all of them, they was hooked up with the Nipponese. They wasn't, the Japanese was fighting for people of color. They should have really did it instead of that propaganda. They showed the British and the white man coming and taking their coconuts, and they was living a hula life, That was Japanese propaganda. In Japanese reality, they was bumping people. I mean, they didn't care nothing about color. In fact, there's an old saying that the Japanese was the white man of Asia. They used to say that. The Japanese was the white man of Asia. Couldn't have been China, because China in 4,000 years never invaded anyone. Can you imagine? That's not a bad record. It built a wall to keep other people out, but it never invaded anyone. Genghis Khan invaded them. But we're going to get to this. This is a huge subject. What that means is our job is to rescue the world from today's fitna. Why? Because everybody's involved in it. If you think about it, everybody is involved. This anti-white, anti-black, anti-everything like that. If you notice, the people who were killed in New Zealand, now yesterday they supposed to have a Turkish guy killed people, maybe 3 or 4 people in the Netherlands. We don't know who they are. We don't believe. Everything that's come our way is suspicious. 9/11 was suspicious. 9/11 was suspicious. And they hardly ever focus in on what's really going on. John Kennedy was a lone assassin, right? No conspiracy, right? Robert Kennedy, lone assassin. Martin Luther King, lone assassin. Deranged white man, bull crap. They always got a fall guy out there to take the fall. There's no organization behind. Well, why are they so successful? How you jump up and get so successful, one person? Man, you gotta have everything falling in line. You gotta did all kind of research, and you can't do it every time and all the time. So the world right now, this world that we're living in, there is a global conspiracy. There is a global conspiracy by the people who are running these countries and organizations to keep the people divided. And the Muslims are the ones that are being used by the system. The Muslims are the ones being used. 9/11 was a perfect setup against the Muslims, but not against the ones that had anything to do with it. First of all, it's impossible for 9/11 to happen like that. It's basically impossible. But it was no big deal. Not only wasn't it impossible, but 1993 World Trade Center, they forget Hosni Hadass. They forget that lady, Hosni Hadass, an Israeli, had rented the brothers the apartment. They came back, they had let Syed Nasser go. Almost supposed, he took out somebody, I think of who it was in a little while. But Syed Nasser, the Egyptian, the blind sheikh was up there, right? The blind sheikh was always Captain Hassan or something for the Egyptian intelligence, was his bodyguard. The Negroes that was with him, I looked at them Negroes at one of the ISNA programs. I said, boy, the sheikh is in trouble now. Yeah, the sheikh is in trouble. He was surrounded like everybody else. So-called 6 people killed. But at the World Trade Center, 1993, you know, Hadari and all of it, we did a program. We said, no, they ain't did it. Why you did it? I said, because you can't have Steve Emerson and Daniel Pipes and all these boys, Ibrahim Foxman, calling an account before anything happens. Can't do that. The next thing is the dumb Arab. He's supposed to really defame him, remember? With the serial numbers on the axle and all that. He goes kicking on the door and everything for his deposit back. I want my deposit. He might have been telling the truth. I want my deposit back, $400 for the rental of the van. the white people do it, it's a lone conspiracy. When people of color or Muslims do it, it is they leave behind. The guy goes with First World Trade Center, he wanted his money back for his, in Paris they got phones, they drop them in the garbage can right near everybody. Or ID cards, driver's license, everything. They just leave them there and they trace them down. That's the way they do. That shows collusion, as they get down for. That's collusion. Now, here we are. We got, now there's one person of color in there. These are all white people in New Zealand. They said their faces as sad as though it happened to them. And I didn't bring the other paper, but when they started the memorials, this is a New Zealand flag here with the Union Jack up here. These are white people putting up, white people are putting up memorials more than the Muslims. White people are sadder, they're not sadder, but they're really, this is not our country. But the first thing the Prime Minister say, the lady says, we're going to work on guns. Now the picture starts to evolve. In America, this killer over here, whatever his name is, M Street, Navy Yard shooter. He told the FBI up there, up north, somebody's suggesting that I kill and do this, that, and another. They said, let's take a couple aspirin and go home. Suppose you and I said that. I hear voices, somebody telling me to shoot white folks. Do you think that, no, but the Navy Yard was on the schedule. And they could, here's what they do. They have a whole high profile incident, like 9/11. You ought to saw, there's a, before Turkish TV went off, it might be on another channel. The white lady that's head of the group that's suing the Saudis. Because see, they was giving Iranian money to the 9/11 people. Iran ain't had nothing to do with it. You know how funny acting white folks are. Someone on Turkish TV, one of the commentators was trying to say this, oh, Saudis, she said, quit it, shut it up, enough is enough. You know how white people, they get to point their finger at you, stop it, finish, enough is enough, like a school teacher. If she's telling the people, we don't want to hear that stuff about this accident that happened and this is what the Saudis did in 28 pages, probably 2,800 pages, floated away. In other words, like the war in Yemen, if you're their friend, you can do anything you want to people. If people are their friend, they can do anything to us that they want. This is a rule, right? If Saudi Arabia was friends of America, they could do whatever they like. Okay, now here's our situation. The ayat we read. White folks don't quite get it yet, and neither does Negroes. They get pieces of conspiracies floating around here and there. But there's two main issues, at least two. The big two main issues, the first one is weapons and guns. The reason the Second Amendment is in the Constitution is because you see all revolutionary wars, they were won by Minutemen. They were won by volunteers. not the regular army. Frontiersmen, everybody in America had weapons. Everybody, they hunted, shot Indians, stuff like that. Everybody was armed. Everybody was armed. You had to be armed. Now, in Britain and all them places, they don't have the army take care of everything. It's been so-called civilized or uncivilized so long. The people don't have weapons everywhere. The police just started carrying weapons in the UK. The Bobbies, the police, they didn't carry guns in the, they had to get a special permit to go get guns. I don't think it's that way now. I mean, whatever it is, they get it easier than they used to. The point is, if the people are armed heavily enough, they always talk about military weapons. Why? Because they're thinking about their military. If they have the AR-15, which is almost the same as the M16, if they have those, if they have AK-47s, if they have rapid-fire weapons, if they have big magazines, if they have all of that, right, then they can fight the troops. Have you seen the police lately? Bulletproof vests, helmets. Every one of the crews that come to pick up somebody, they strap down, they tie their guns down like the old Westerners used to do, you know. They tie their stuff down now. The military apparel is everywhere. Bulletproof vests, helmets, everything. What it is they don't want the American people to be able to defend themselves. This includes Australia. This includes New Zealand. This includes anybody that has a liberal arms policy. Now you got to remember, Australia was the same. They was subduing people like Aborigines, and they just kept their guns. They just never. So they got a lot of guns over there. New Zealand is the same. They sell it to the people, not Hawaiians, but people look like that. What kind of they're brown people. They don't want us to be able to defend ourselves. Now that put us in a kind of strange way because we have to tell the public, let the white folks keep their guns, and Negroes, arm yourself. I don't know if you remember over on A Street, some of the people who was there, in fact it was Aisha, and they joined the NRA, and the NRA asked them, y'all are not armed enough. What's wrong with y'all? They was looking at black people and said, don't you see where you are? And you ain't got no guns? Or the ones you do, you shoot each other with them? Shoot. They were telling us, and I had on my notes in 2001 or 2, when I came from Iran. I had some of my notes just like this. I didn't know they was going to search all my stuff, but they just happened to. So the police, the civilian police, he was civilian, probably FBI, NSA. He looked on the stuff, he said, you remember the NRA? I don't know. I was thinking about it. What do you think? You know, because that would give us legitimacy. And you know what else I had on there? Be very careful about setups from the system. Because I know our people was, when they talk about arms, they can try to engineer a setup, and we had written right down, be careful, make sure in every state where we are, that we are 100% in accord with state law. I'm gonna pick up a minute. So here we are, black people, advocating weapons. Because there's so much go with it. Does anybody remember last 2 years ago, it was, I showed some pictures of a white staff member who was a lady who was in charge of prosecuting the case against the big chemical companies that make opiates. And she had 29 years in, and she quit and retired. Another one, I heard him on the radio. He said, I've never seen anything like it in my life. Nobody wants to prosecute. If we go to prosecute these big medical companies, the ones that make opiates and the ones that make all of that, somebody's there to protect them. So they both quit. Now they're trying to squeeze a few suits out from around the country, but it's too late. Everybody's doped up now. Why is that? It's because there is a conspiracy. Number one is drugs. Number one is, we've written about it all before, is guns. Take all the guns from people. That's it. Number two, kill the rest of the people with opium. Kill the rest of the people with opium. And number three, division. Divide, conquer, and rule. Do we see any evidence of that now? Yes, that's everywhere. The people are hanging on to their humanity. The large numbers of people, even some dealing with Muslim immigration and Muslim this, that, and other, half of the people is voting on our side or more. They have this country, we don't want any more you guys coming from here or there. They've taken it to the Supreme Court. They say you can't do that, right? All the pictures we see right here, all of these pictures are New Zealanders, white people. Maybe it's one in the crowd that's not in this picture. That means that what happens after this? Is it the fault of the New Zealander people? No. Who hired these racists? Who told them to make it a video game type to put it on the website? They take it down, but they got already. It's too late. If one survived, it's gonna hit everybody. Why? Because they want to make the Muslims mad and feel like nothing. They want to spread fear amongst the Muslims. They want the Muslims to be afraid of white people and all of this. And they want the white people to be afraid of us. You're going to be replaced. You're going to be outnumbered. But they're telling white folks. White folks, you're going to be replaced. You're going to be outnumbered. And a dumb white man might look at the numbers and look at America and look at and all of these millions and trillions of people running across the border, right? You go down to the border, you don't see, but the people on the border say, we don't need all that. But the other people is dying to have it. Here's the point. When we put the subject about a great mission or a grand mission, this thing grows every night because it goes from us rescuing the Negro from the Zionists to now we've saved the world. And ain't nothing we can do about it. When you see what the mission is, you have to go after it. Now, here's what we're saying tonight. We're asking white people who are in charge of these, white people, Negro, everybody, you're in charge of these organizations. We want you to invite us, Imam Abdul Ali Musa. Everything is there on it. Then we still feel a little comfortable come knocking on the door and say, we want to talk to y'all. So make it easy on us. If you don't invite us in another month or so, we're just going to start knocking on the door. But make it easy for us. Your churches, your centers, your political clubs. Challenge our ideas. That's all. We say that there's a global collusion. Number one, to take weapons out of the hands of the people to make them defenseless. Through fear. In every occasion, everything that's used against the people is fear. Fear of the other. Just plain fear. So the white people fear us, people of color. I don't know why they should, because the young people are already in the interracial mode. I mean, the real young teenagers and all of that, they're in the interracial mode. And we know from all the commercials and from everything else, one of the fastest growing groups in America is interracial people. They're just growing by leaps. In fact, almost there. You know, yellow girls used to be rare. Now, they're common everywhere. But I mean real yellow now. They ain't just old time yellow with nappy hair and little straight hair and that New Orleans look. I don't want to change the subject, but I was in New Orleans one time. Brother Said was selling his oil and stuff down on Canal Street. And I was hanging out with two brothers. One was dark and the other one was light. Said was. So I was standing there with Said. And all the, women buy perfume and they was friendly with him. Most of them was light skinned. And they would look at me like, I took it for a minute. After a while, I said, hold it, I'm not from down here. I don't, whatever y'all got down here, debutantes and octoroons, I don't care nothing, because the mayor at that time was, remember the real green-eyed mayor? I think of his name. He was almost white. This was way back then, but he was black. I think of his name. And I told them people, I said, I'm not from down here. I knew how they felt, the fuse, and then when I'd asked the brother, how is things down here? The light one would say, well, just fine. And the darkie sitting in the back would say, man, they friends. No, man, it ain't like that down here. Two 100% different stories. But our job, number one, help white people keep their weapons and get more training. Help the country understand that those killings in those schools. See, that's what I already fall down. In fact, y'all ought to invite us to, because we'll say what y'all been scared to say. You know, if you said the police is doing it, they would think you was crazy. But I could come and talk to you, and you could play like, oh, we don't believe that, but you really believe it, right? And then, because they know, you could tell how they acting, that they know, hey man, you can't be taking our guns. Every time they talk about guns, they sell out at all the gun places. Ammunition and weapons. And I be thinking, man, them white folks must got, because the poor Euro, he'll spend, the kids can be hollering and crying and starving, and he gonna go buy him loads of weapons. But their feeling is not justified. It's not justified because of the pattern that we want to produce. We want to produce a behavioral pattern that's based on kindness. That's why I was saying on TV, we got to get, don't want to sound mushy, but our policy or the policy going forward is either kindness or hatred. It's not two policies. Either America, New Zealand, Australia, all of these countries are going to improve their behavior. They're going to improve their behavior or suffer the disaster. But we have to explain to the people, you look at the things that are happening. School shootings. Now the old time shootings, was this last shooting a lone shooter down there in Florida?
Sandy Hook?
Not down here. It was at Sandy Hook down in Florida?
Yeah.
And the police knew about it, but didn't do nothing to the guy. You know, the sheriff
right.
was up on almost everything.
Right.
We're getting a lot of stuff. Who benefits? The sheriff benefits. The police benefits. Because when the takeover comes, these people running the society, they know it can't last forever. They're preparing. They prepare decades ahead for something. They manage the environment. And they know what they want the environment to produce. They run the educational system, all of the transportation systems. So you can't blame the Negro for nothing because he don't run nothing. You can't blame Latinos for nothing. Absolutely nothing. Why? Because they're a product of their environment that they didn't make. So back to us. This grand job, this great responsibility, means reaching out to the people, explain to the people the coincidences and how it's generally, even at Sandy Hook, it was a lone shooter, wasn't it? The young guy, the young trouble guy. Yeah, he the one that shot all the children. Yeah, the 15-year-old guy. Yeah. This is getting out of hand, and the people are not responding properly. The people are not saying, this smells bad. The people, the so-called democratic forces, are the ones that they've convinced that we don't need no more guns. Because look what they do. You know how long we've been at guns in America? Ever since we've been here. All of us grew up, if we was from the country, you grew up in a house, they had guns. 2, 3 shotguns, 30-30 Winchester. The kids got 22s right away just to learn how to shoot birds or BB guns. Everything was weapons. We played cowboys and Indians. That's what you played, cowboys. And you had cap guns and other guns. What happened to the little Negro children if they popped out now? With a couple of semi-real looking guns, they'd be blown away. They blew the 12-year-old boy away. Shoot. These people have went crazy. Okay. So, the other one is divide, conquer, and rule. Divide up the people. First of all, make the people hate each other. That's why this Turkish guy, this guy didn't have a chance. They popped up and caught him. We don't know whether he was real or how he got out there. Turkish immigrant arrested in fatal shooting on a tram in Dutch city. Turkish guy, immigrant, not Turkish, definitely a Muslim. Was he mad about the other shooting? And that's what they would present it. They would present it as he was mad and angry, and we want to say to all the Muslims, don't fall for it. do not fall for violence. Black people have had enough of that. I hate to say it, but Martin Luther King, that is, was right. The violent era didn't last no more than 2-3 years in America. And all they did was line them up and shot them down. That's what they did. By 1970, the no more long hot summers. Just study history. Long hot summer, 65, 66. By 70, no more long hot summers. They got it together. Whether they wanted to or whether they didn't want to, the system will automatically adjust to what it's dealing with. And it will use everything that's happening for its benefit. Black lives matter, blue lives matter. The only problem is ain't nobody shooting no blue people. One in every 10,000, they just shoot the Negro. Right? Therefore, we have to, this time around is different. Whatever we see that's wrong, we say we're going to go and try to fix it. It doesn't make a difference whether we're able to or not. We're sure going to try. We're going to try to fix it, because if we don't, we'll be like, think back 10 years ago, all the activity, 15 years ago, all the activities, all the demonstrations for Palestine, everything, they was rolling. Then nothing. Nothing. You can go on a cruise. You can go on a cruise and you can get this, where this woman came from, I don't know. I don't know where this lady came from at all. I know I get stuff from these non-profit legal funds. These people, this is the face of the Islamic movement in North America. God, dog. Think about it. Isn't that the face of the Islamic movement in North America? That's the face of the Islamic movement in North America. No, not one smidgen of relevance whatsoever. Nobody, the stuff we're talking about, they don't even, they would get up and run out and holler if they heard this stuff. That's not possible. That's what they do. So can y'all begin to see what our job is? It is precarious, to say the least. But I believe we can do it. It just seems like it's time. And also, we shouldn't want a job that's too little, that don't call the bigness out of you. So that's what we got. We got something that whatever you got in you, it's going to call the big out of you. Okay. So guns and a global conspiracy. Strategy against gun-owning white men. If white men feel threatened by population, are these movies accidental? Do they go from Tarzan saving everybody 1 year, and 5 years all the heroes are niggas? Or they get the white girl? I believe somebody's making somebody mad, that it's not haphazard. And it's not that Hollywood don't have more white men there than they do black men, right? Playing them parts. And the white boys do pretty good. They crackers now. They ain't them little skinny white folks that use little old pencil arms and pencil necks. They go to the gym, all of them. Well, they look like it. You can't go on that thing no more with just a little normal build. You got to be cut and just right, not big old Arnold, but you got to be cut. We know they work out. Then what is our mission? Our mission is to clarify everything that's obvious. Number one, who's sending all of your jobs? Or who sent them overseas? Starting 35, 48 with Chrysler, right? And all them people. Even though Messy Jesse was talking about it way back then. They sent those jobs overseas. And then they want me and you to fight each other here for the scraps. You sent those jobs overseas. We don't own any companies, we don't own that, right? Therefore, they sent all that stuff over there. But then they want you and I, right, to fight each other here. Then the fear factor. Oh, it's a boogeyman. Here come the boogeyman. The boogie Negroes, the boogie Mexicans, the boogie everybody. Well, to tell you the truth, America's going to get a chance this go around to live out its interracial creed, because those bad things that they do by giving the Negro all the juice on screen, he ain't giving them much in the background. Just juice on the screen. The other thing is, our people are being thoroughly misled by the system, and the system is thoroughly misleading the other side. We will not be replaced. Manifestos breeding hatred. We sound like peaceniks or something. It actually do sound a little PC-fied when you think about it. But you know what? That's great. It's coming from somewhere. So now there's a global lockdown already. There's a global lockdown already. It's a global lockdown. Technically, they can manage with the weapons people got. So it's a global lockdown. Simple freedoms. Do you know back in the 50s, we had more freedoms than we do now? You could go down and get your driver's license, no birth certificate or nothing. You could go get a passport. At the passport office, all you did was took somebody and they would say, they swear so-and-so was born. That's all. To get a passport. All of those freedoms. Now, if you think about a racial fear, that's something different. But if you're thinking about general American freedoms, Social Security card, I think when I got mine when I was 12, when I had 4 or 5 of them. We just got them. You got to have a Social Security card. Good, we got one. Now what? We throw that one away, go get another one. I don't know how many. It's a global lockdown now. When Europe started that freedom of mobility between one country and another, I was in Europe in the 70s, and you could drive from one border to the next. It wasn't. They had just started that. In those days, they called it the European Union, something like that. It was in the early stages. They was relaxing the borders. They tighten up now. The point is, they want a society that is freedomless. If you think you have freedoms, just go down to Declaration of Independence. Not Declaration of Independence, forget that, boy. You definitely ain't got none of that. Declaration of Independence. independence. No, indeed. Try the Bill of Rights. You have freedom of speech, press, and religion. Well, say certain things and see what happened to your behind. Second Amendment, the right to bear arms. Third Amendment, jump to the Fourth Amendment. Fourth Amendment, illegal searches and seizures. Fifth Amendment or Sixth Amendment, that you have to have a bill of particulars when they confiscate something from you. They don't do that. You got to have a receipt. Remember, out the way, they took my stuff, no receipt, no nothing. And the receipt that they had, they tried to steal it back, but I had copied it before. Yeah, they some mean old Euros. Okay, let's speed up a little bit. Global lockdown. The purpose of false flags, we didn't went through that. False flag is you run up a flag on it's one country, but it's really somebody else doing it. That's very common today. Loner assassin, we didn't went through that. And the profile. White nationalist agenda. Example, the march and rally for DC last summer. Do you remember the white man was talking about, we're going to have everybody here, and all the other white nationalist groups said, we ain't coming to that. You remember that? You know what? They know, hey man, we know when we got, y'all ain't real. Walking around talking about Jews will not replace us. That ain't white nationalism, that's stupidity. That's putting heat on everybody, right? The white nationalists, the real ones, got sense. You may not believe it, but some of them have excellent relations with Negroes. The real white nationalists. Just like the big white nationalists had, they had an association with Elijah Muhammad and Marcus Garvey. Because they wanted there was the same thing. We want separation. You guys like separate? Yes, we do. Well, why don't you help us and we'll help separate from y'all? Declaring. People's mad at Marcus Garvey. He's saying we're going to back the African movement. Hell, why not have them pay? They get paid to bring us over. Why not have them pay to send us back? Seems smart to me, right? The same thing that Malcolm said. He said he lied the Lamb had tons, Lincoln Rockwell and all them boys, he had big relations with them because we wanted 5 states down in Dixie somewhere. But we wanted the government to take care of us for so many years till we could get on our feet.
Did you ever come across any Young Patriots?
The Patriots, that's a group. Yes, definitely. See, the Patriots are there's sections of, there's Patriots, I could put them in 3 or 4 categories. One are the old type racist Patriots type, you know, White Citizens Council, all of that. There's another group that they know who Boss Man is. And when they count, they're Jeffersonian. Thomas Jefferson said we have to have a revolution every 20 years. Well, we're 200-some years past that, right? That's what Jefferson said. We're 200 years past because people learn how to game the system all over the world. He would not be happy with us not having a revolution here. So, then there's a third or fourth group. These are, well, I just call it third group. They're conscious. There's one or 2 groups I saw on the internet was actually pro-black. Did you see them?
I saw them, but I'm thinking about the ones, when I listen to you, the young patriots that kind of partnered up with the Panthers.
Oh, you talking about the ones that was up, the Patriots that was up there? Those was crackers from mainly around Illinois and all that. What's the name?
Exactly.
You know I know his name. Why do you think he got killed 2 weeks later?
That's my point. That's my point.
Well, I'm rolling for death then, because I'm sure going to try to get these people. That's hey man.
Right.
There's no better way to go than to go for it. I think technically, from our background, that is an honorable cause. To have evolved above racism, and we are born steeped in racism. To evolve as a human being, that the content of character, not the color, all that stuff. Islam did us a lot of good. We might as well share it with everybody. And if it's a cost behind it, that's too bad. You know, if it's a cost to go with it, that's too bad. But, okay. Second Amendment, 9/11, image building, we got Guantanamo, and each act that they do, it reinforces. They do a big act, like 9/11, then they do a little small act every now and then that reinforces. That makes the people mad and hatred all over. Who is the target? The Muslims are the target for fault finding. The Muslims, that's not Muslims, as they call it. The next target is white people, gun owners, middle and lower class white folks. And I got here patriots, and I got Sikh invitations to our friends, the patriots. See, white groups evolved. Some stayed anti-black. Probably, let's say 25% of them are still just we hate niggas. That's fine. But I believe this is around 40 or 50% that's kind of in the middle. They know, especially the ones that's anti-government. Now, have you ever been out back to Indiana and you turn on the radio and you hear them white folk? Good God Almighty. Boy, you think we talk about the police? Jack Booter, FBI, they be spitting over the thing. Tell the truth, they make us sound like sweetie pie Negroes. Them white folks got, they got something, see, you talking about mad? Because see, they was the ones told they had freedom. The big lie was what they told them. The big lie, what they told us. They told us all of the big fancy lie. It's so good it just couldn't make you want warm all over. You know, the big lie. You know, the Constitution provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare. That's the preamble. That's before you get into anything else. Provide for the common defense. How many Negroes have had anything to do with it? How many, they haven't defended us. They have never defended our rights as human beings. Forget about 3/4 of a human being. From the old days, they have never. And promote the general welfare. That old welfare, they give you $2, $5, or $10. They never say that white folks is the most on welfare. They show you a welfare queen. And they show you 1% of the people, they got Cadillacs or had Cadillacs. They got diamonds. Those are the ones that's hustling the system. Everybody else is starving to death almost. But as long as they had the money to keep us quiet. You didn't talk about welfare reform till Clinton got in there. I mean, you could just grow up, but you could be 5 or 6 generations on welfare. As long as they had the money, as long as welfare would keep you quiet. You just eat this here. They used to give niggas peanut butter, cheese, and all that. Remember that stuff a long time ago, back in the 80s?
Yeah.
Of course the cheese was good, and the peanut butter was good too. All that stuff was good.
You had to stir it. You had to stir
Yeah,
it.
instead of the Department of Agriculture, well, you just put a little honey with the stuff, and then you soften it up. Or put it in a boiler and let it boil on the outside. And then you find out how to do it, all of it, you know. And grilled cheese sandwiches, man, they had grilled cheese sandwiches that thick. Okay, let me get to who was the target? The Muslims. Blame it on the Muslims. White people, gun owners, middle and lower class, they're the target too. Patriots. Patriots might in the long run turn out to be our best friends, even better than Save the Whales people. Or you got to think about it like this. All them diverse people, just think of tree huggers and patriots getting together. Yeah, and niggas. That'd be nice. But boss man done lost his touch. He ain't tight as he used to be. And he ain't got much to offer as he used to. So he's now loosening up. He's not as sharp as he used to be. I believe he's unifying us. Okay, last thing is government abuse of the popular. Okay. Media images. This carries on from the last page. Media images is an image they put forward. Turkish immigrant shoots white people. White monster kills 50 people in New Zealand with a manifesto. See, we got to rescue them poor white folks, because they remember Trump's people come from out of those poor white folks, a lot of them. He's winning the war on that. But if we can get an hour or two of their attention, we'll turn it around. That's what we're going to try to do. Is that heat getting a lot? Military-industrial complex. Eisenhower made a lecture, his last speech was about the military-industrial complex. The military-industrial complex has grown. After World War II, they wanted to have a permanent army. The people didn't want it, they didn't need it. But the military-industrial complex wanted it to keep building new jets and bombers and what have you. Now the military-industrial complex eventually controls who? Eventually all the security forces, FBI, CIA, Homeland Security, all of those technically come under the military-industrial complex. Why? Because the military-industrial complex is permanent. All these other agencies have temporary people going through. As time goes on, the military-industrial complex don't make no money off peace and love, only wars. Look at all of our countries. Syria, what happened in Libya, what's happening in Yemen. In order for these people over here to keep their position, they keep bombing and destroying Iraq and everywhere. They destroy them on purpose. So then they can rebuild them with their people, but their people don't get no benefit from the money hardly. They just paying higher bills and higher taxes. And the concentration of wealth is concentrating in fewer and fewer and fewer hands. It is a law. The concentration of wealth and the concentration of resources. Like the concentration of media. 50, 60, 70 years ago, every little town had its own newspaper. They might have had 3 or 4 newspapers. So you could get different size. They don't have that anymore. They have a giant media, right? That feeds people what it wants to feed them. And it's going to feed them fear, it's going to feed them war, and it's going to feed them military-industrial complex, watching it in the shows. Ex-General so-and-so, ex-CIA agent so-and-so. What do you think? Well, I think this, that, and another. Well, sure you should. You're paid to think that. And you're paid to sell that stuff as news to our people who are swallowing it up wholesale. We ain't gonna put up with that no more. We're gonna call them out. Well, we're gonna try. Anyway. If you don't think it's a reality, 2 sets of people jumped over the White House fence when Obama was president. How'd they do that? One got on the elevator, they said, with a gun, I think. What was the message? We're security. We're part of the military-industrial complex. You have to curtail all that. I want to help a few people here. I want to help. You ain't going to slide through on us and get nothing. And there's your family. If you think you're so bad, we'll let everybody come in there and slaughter you all on the front page. White folks to see it, everybody. He got back in line. Remember the white the people jumping over? How can somebody jump over the White House? I could see it back 50, 60, 70 years ago. They didn't have all that protection because there wasn't nothing going on. Okay. We just closed with opioids, meth, for white people. Crystal meth, boy, you talking about white folks and crank, that's what we used to call it. Good God. You know, back 50 years ago, the white man used heroin for Negroes. But he used LSD and crank for white boys. All the people over in San Francisco, they were flower children, man. They wasn't, they didn't have, all they wanted to do was smoke weed and hang out. They would grow out of it in 9 or 10 years, you know what I mean? Just hang out. That's all, technically, that's what they wanted to do. And they didn't want to do what their mom and daddy was doing. That's all. That was a large group of white folks. But they start sending them to Vietnam to get killed, and they say, wait a minute, the Negroes talking about freedom and justice, and we talking about we better get together here before they went and killed us all. The brown berets, Mexicans, so that was a period of waking. It's one of the worst drugs they ever invented. Crystal meth. We used to call it methadone crystals. Hey man, all of it was invented by the devil, but crystal meth. And then about 20 years ago, they started smoking it like freebase, like cocaine. Yeah, they started turning it back, and they put crank on that thing, and you talking about a hit. Cocaine is one thing, but a hit, bam! You just be spinning around in the outer reaches of the universe. Okay, are there any questions or comments about anything was said? This is our commentary, you might think it's not news but it is. This is straight out of the front page. The social commentary on where we are, where the human family is. It's also dealing with our responsibilities, and last but not least, our possibilities. You've got to always think, what are our possibilities? And that's what we want to talk about tonight. Now, we're going to have, since we didn't crank things up, we're going to try to come back Thursday night, if it's all right with everybody.
Okay.
Thursday night. Now, Friday, if y'all can go out to ICM, and I feel like people, if you notice, there's people picking up a little bit of cookbook, there's a pinch. But they gonna pick up automatically because the white man got to pick them up, or real people who come and he can't have us with them. So I can, where they're going is that they're gonna increase the Juma. So I'll stay here and give the Juma. Now we could have went out all the time. Last 3 weeks it ain't been no rain. We got 2 or 3 flakes of rain, and then 2 or 3 flakes of snow. I don't believe they lied to us and say because they knew we was gonna go out. But you never know. The European is pretty sneaky. Yes, he is. Are there any questions, any comments? But we'll go over the last part on Thursday, inshallah. Thursday at 7. And we'll let the, okay, we'll figure out, we'll get somebody, yeah. Can we get somebody else to tape the cookbooks, or we don't need to tape the cookbooks?
Yeah, I think we could. I gotta ask and find out if it's free.
Well, this week we can, if we're gonna start to have 3 or 4 programs, those 3 programs that we have outside of Juma, we can let for this week and maybe for the next week, we can let the Salatul Juma slide as far as, unless we get now, Furqan, if your brother said they were going to start coming through, but he's been back 2 weeks from Umrah. Maybe he'll show sooner or later. And we'll package up a few folders, and definitely both side flyers. What is this right here? Oh, this is.
Oh yeah, that's what you gave us to pass
Yeah.
program. So yeah, I was just,
Right, okay. We'll just read them. Okay, are there any questions or comments?
Yeah, well, I had a question. So we went last Saturday to it was a program by an organization that's trying to bring light to what's happening in China, in the western part of China, and East Turkish. Yeah, about what's happening with the Uyghurs. And it was an interesting comment that the presenter made, because he said this organization, they've been going around talking to various leaders across the Muslim world, trying to get their input and their support about basically what's happening there is, locking up the Muslims in concentration camps, things like that. So I thought it was interesting because when they approached Mohammed bin Salman to get his input to see if he was willing to help, the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia, he said the same thing that CARE said to us. They said, oh, that's an internal affair. We can't get involved. And I wanted to get your input on, that's that mindset of the Muslims these days.
The policy of China, the only problem we have with China is the Uyghurs. The other policies that China's had, socialism with Chinese characteristics, and Chinese dream, the vision for 2049 when they got their independence, 2030 vision. All of that sounds like stuff we do. But China has a problem. China and Japan has a similar problem. China's problem is it wants everybody to be Han Chinese. So the two sore spots is Lhasa. What the Buddhists are in China. Tibet is one, and the other ones are the Uyghurs. They don't appreciate the cultural benefit, and they also don't understand that most of the Muslim world is on their side if they let them.
Wow.
No, the Chinese. Well, the Chinese, if they try to do something to Iran, they step in. The Russians step in. They do it in Venezuela. They do it everywhere. China's problem is nobody's got to them to tell them the benefits of diversity. One thing they don't have to worry about is a few million Uyghurs overrunning China. And what they do the same thing that the Indians do in Kashmir. They flood in like settlers. They flood in like they do in Palestine.
That's exactly right.
They flood in all those people, take up land, and now they got in Turkestan, the Turkmens, the Muslims, they have so many Han Chinese around now. They're destroying mosques or intimidating the people. The other thing is, that might work for a minute, but you can start a rebellion. You can start a rebellion. It's not only them. The Uyghurs, you know, when they had a few of them in the Guantanamo. Yeah. They had to wait to find a place to go. They couldn't go back to China, they wouldn't let them. So they had to find a place to go. 4 of them, I think. Anyway, my personal feeling about Turkestan and inside of China is that they would make a wonderful cultural input. And also Tibet would also. The follow-up is neither one of those peoples have any chance whatsoever of swaying the motion of 1.3 billion, excuse me. It's not possible. But that harmonious feeling and interaction, and what would be the benefit? All the Muslims would pat them on the back, and they would get another 1 billion Muslims on their side. It would go along with the territory. You see what I mean? I don't want to call Chinese stupid, but there's a streak of, you know, certain hatreds blind you. You know, like, I think many people have a blindness for something. It's a blind spot. They don't maybe even, this is a scotoma they call it. Something you're looking right at, but you don't see it. That's the Chinese, I believe, and with the Muslims and the Tibetans. You know, I think that's bad for them. And the Indians in Kashmir, they got billions of people out of a big place like that, you know. Whatever it is, we have to get bigger. We're already trying to help most of the world. If we can, we get to help in that. That's a good feeling to want to help everybody, though. But a lot of the Muslims need help. And a lot of the people that's not helping the Muslims and working against them is the bin Salmans. You got to remember, just like Negroes in Mexicans, the one that fights you hardest is another Negro, another Mexican. Right? So people are getting a heck of a fight in Yemen and other places. Yeah. So, are there any more questions or comments? Did that answer the question, though?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.